What's up, everyone? On today's video, I'm bringing on a special guest, a good friend of mine, Nate the Great Peterman, one of my good buddies from LA who has now written a book and released it at an extremely young age and is doing wonders in the social media world. In this interview, we talk about personal branding, the importance of social media, and so much more that you're going to get value from. So without further ado, let's head into it, introduce you to Nate, and let's chat business. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. And I'm super excited today to have an awesome video on personal branding with a very special guest, Nate the Great. So this is a topic that a lot of people reach out to me, and again, Nate as well, on is personal branding, not only just in the real estate space, but also as general entrepreneurs. Personal branding is a very hot topic, and people are very much understanding the relevancy of it in 2018 going into 2019. So I think Nate and I are going to chat today about a few things as you start planning for the new year, since we're now in December 2018, of what you can do with personal branding, why it's so important, and why you should be investing in it now. So Nate, man, welcome.
Hey, appreciate you having me on, Mike. I'm excited to drop some value today.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. So, before we get into, some of the personal branding topics that we've kind of mapped out ahead of time, why don't you give people a glimpse at, who you are, what you do, and then we're going to start diving into specifics that people can take away and implement today.
Yeah, for sure, brother. I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm 22 years old, good old millennial, of course, from a small town in Pennsylvania called Chambersburg. I like to call it Amishville because there's literally straight up horse and buggies nonstop. I pass every single day, but I'm rarely home so much. I do a lot of traveling, of course, from coast to coast, country to country. I have my own marketing company called Simba Marketing, along with a business partner of mine. And yeah, man, we really work with like a lot of personal brands like real estate agents, musicians, entrepreneurs, the whole nine yards and things like that. So the whole personal branding is something that I'm very passionate about, not just because, how to, of course, position yourself on social media, but I like more so actually going into people's trigger points, sort of like that. I guess you can say like life coaching in a way, because it's
Yeah.
like a lot of personal branding is really just who you are as a person and activating like those little triggers. But yeah, man, I mean, that's pretty much just summed up what I got going on, marketing company and everything like that. Yeah.
100%, man. No, that's awesome. And it's cool to see some of the young people that are hustling and doing big things, because a lot of people make the assumptions that you need so much experience or you need to be a certain age in order to start making waves. But, we've and many others have proven time and time again that that's not necessarily the case. So, before we get too much into, the details, in your mind, what is personal branding? When someone thinks of a personal brand, what are some of the elements that that encompasses for you and that people need to be, mindful of when building a personal brand?
Yeah, for sure. I think personal branding, I mean, it's really the new credibility nowadays. It's like people are going to look at what you are and who you are on social media first over anything.
Yeah.
I look at real estate agents because, to be honest, Mike, I work with a lot of real estate agents, and a lot of them, they tend to post nothing but houses. And it's
Yeah.
like, I tell them, I'm like, listen, I don't want to personally reach out to somebody or personally, shoot them a DM or even call them if I just see like an old school, little magazine booklet that looks like
Yeah.
a house, like just straight up houses. I want to see somebody that's actually, doing something like maybe it's video content, maybe it, of course, shows who they are at the end of the day. Like I want to see who like Mike Sherrard is. I want to see who Nate the Great is. And I feel like that's what we've mastered so well, is because personal branding, it is the new wave. You
Definitely.
got all these restaurants nowadays that they're making an absolute killing because of their social medias. Same
Yeah.
with you, same with I. And I mean, it's crazy, Mike, because you even got people nowadays that they aren't even that credible, but
Yeah.
they're still killing the game just
Big time.
because they have that personal brand mastered. You know what I mean?
100%, man. And I think it's very interesting timing because now we're seeing very credible sources like Inman, which is basically the Wall Street Journal of real estate, posting articles saying that millennials, which is the largest demographic of rising buyers and first-time sellers, they are preferring to work with quote unquote influencers over real estate agents. So what you're seeing there is if someone's got a following, if someone's got a strong personal brand that people can relate to and they're jiving with, the millennial demographic would rather work with you to help buy and sell their first house over an agent that's maybe, been in the industry for 10, 20 years and has all the experience and has the track record, but no one knows who they are from the phone and things like that, right? So you're starting to see the shift, like you say, of credibility and celebritization of these people that have built personal brands that are very much relatable and real and authentic and transparent.
Yeah, that's so real too, because it's like, whenever I'm in the market for a house, of course, or an apartment, I would never, ever go to like a book. I would never do that, right?
Yeah.
But 10 years ago, that was the thing, but nowadays it's like, what am I going to go to? I'm going to go to Instagram, right?
100%.
Because that's my age demographic, right? And it's like, same with anything. Like if I'm going to LA tomorrow, I literally go through Instagram and I go through the DMs of people that reached out to me like, yo, what's up, Nate? You want to link up? Right. And it's like, even if I don't necessarily, let's say if I didn't have people to link up with, I would still go on Instagram. I would go into that Los Angeles, California hashtag. I would see like the people that are posting and I might be like, oh shoot, man, this girl Susie, she looks cool. Like let me reach out to her on the DM if she's got a cool personal brand, which
100%.
I'm sure she does if I'm reaching out to her. So I definitely look at these little attributes, and especially the millennials, like you said. I mean, now's the time more than ever where they're looking at these influencers and they're just like, whoa, like I want to reach out to them. I want to be a part of what it is that they're doing, because you and I both, we get messages all the time like, yo, Mike, man, I want you to mentor me. Nate, I want you to, help me, start my own business or something like that. And it's like, then that might be another spectrum of, okay, maybe I can go at this a different way now. You know what I mean?
Definitely, man. So, you mentioned that you worked on, you work with quite a few real estate agents, and that's sort of the industry that, you and I are both very familiar with. So why don't we talk a little bit back and forth about some of the trends you're seeing and some of the more popular things you're seeing in terms of real estate agent personal branding and stuff that, as maybe a new agent or an agent that's taking 2019 as the opportunity to start building their personal brand, what should agents start looking out for and what should agents really hone in on so that they don't become that homes and land catalog, so that they actually build something that people can relate to and get excited to, see what's coming next?
Yeah, for sure. Now, it's a really great question. Something I always recommend, not just for realtors, but for any personal brand or anybody that's looking to really take their brand to the next level, video content. Where we live, especially if you're in business, we live in a world nowadays where trust it's hard to come by.
Yeah.
There is a lot of, again, on social media, there's a lot of people that they can showcase for all the time in the world, but it's like when you meet them and they don't align up with what they were showcasing, that's very ingenuine. It's kind of fake.
Yeah.
So I recommend with realtors, especially, they need to stand out in their market. So how are they going to do that? Video content, right? And the reason I say that is because if you want somebody to reach out to you, they need to already be comfortable before they're going to reach out to you. So me, yourself, we post videos because it's like that establishes rapport pretty much instantly, right? Because at the end of the day, people can look at photos of you every single day. Like, they can do that. That's great, right? They can see your name, but when they actually hear your voice, they see your hand motions moving around. They hear like, your high pitches, you go up, you go down, right? Like just that tonality, it makes people actually want to trust you more. Yeah. I've landed crazy amounts of deals just through the DMs on Instagram because I've used video messages. Like I straight up, and this is another little hack I recommend. Like if you're a realtor or anybody in business, I want you to literally send your client or potential client a video DM, because when you send them a video DM, it establishes not just rapport, but they're a little bit surprised by it because nobody does it. So it's like you're already standing out. You're already the outlier, right, within your industry because nobody does it. Like me, I'm a marketer. Yeah. I understand marketing is one of the most criticized industries on the face of the planet. So it's like, with that being said, I don't want to just send another email like, hey, let me help you, grow your Instagram. Let me help you, with SEO, right? I'm going to, actually send them a video message because I know it has a big impact. So videos are definitely key. I recommend having a consistent theme Instagram's a highlight reel, of course. I recommend having something that, of course, goes with who you are as a person. So for me, on my personal brand, Instagram has those 3 columns, right?
Yeah.
So I do one column, strictly videos. Another column, me with somebody else. The third column, just strictly me, right? Because again, the videos establish rapport. Me and somebody else, of course, shows that I'm actually networking. I'm with other people. So it's like, wow, he's actually getting around. He's not just one of those kids from like Africa or something trying to make a buck, you know? And then the other one of just me, because it's lifestyle, right? I want people to see who I am as a person. So I definitely recommend being consistent. People ask me all the time, like, Nate, how often should I post? Honestly, I mean, I leave that completely up to the person. Like, it is great to post like every day, but at the end of the day, from personal experience and opinion with the people that we've worked with, the audience and the followers need a break after a while, right? Because it's like you can put and post every single day, but I recommend taking 1 to 2 days off, maybe a week, even the weekend. And then whenever Monday hits, boom, it's like, oh shoot, Mike, he's posting on Monday. I'm gonna look out for that. I want to comment. I want to make sure I like it and things like that. So video content, again, consistency is huge for any personal brand looking to really level up in 2019.
Yeah, and I think, that's a key point that we need to touch on is, consistency, but doing what's comfortable for you. Because a lot of people here, and, I do post every day, but it works for me, right? It's something that I've gotten in the habit of doing. I love doing it. It's a part of my schedule every single day. So it doesn't take away from my other value add activities throughout the day. But a lot of people get into it and they say, maybe it's their first time on Instagram and they're overwhelmed because they can't post every day. And that's completely okay. Maybe you start with every third day, but just make sure it's every third day, every single third day. And you're not taking, all these random stints here and there. You need to be consistent so people can start learning what to expect from you. And that builds, again, some rapport and some excitement around your brand, right? So, agents are an interesting one. And I'm sure you've seen things like Gary Vaynerchuk's Agent 2021, right? Where, you have Gary and Andy going up on stage and they're talking about like these fucking realtors that have their face on the side of their car. And, even how, business cards are still very strong, but you have the ones and half the business card is their fucking face. And, branding is we're in a different time now. So, why don't we touch on some of the do's and don'ts? Because a lot of the new agents, from what I see, will reach out to an agent that's maybe 20 years seasoned veteran in the industry. And they're looking for their advice on branding and marketing. But what they don't understand is while they're making, $1 million a year, they've been in the industry for 20 years. So they've had the time to build up a Rolodex that they don't need to market the same way we would do now in order to break into the industry, right? So, what are some of the pieces of advice that you have for the do's and don'ts? Because there's a lot of don'ts that I see, which again goes back to that Rolodex of homes that are templated. I'm actually in some influencer groups and hopefully they're not watching this video, but we're supposed to comment on every single photo that each other posts. And I will not comment on any of their stock home photos. And they call me out for it all the time. And I frankly don't give a fuck because it resembles nothing, right? So I can't jive with that. So, let's dive into some do's and don'ts for all the agents out there.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the first don'ts, I'll start off with some of the don'ts, is don't act like you're somebody when you know who you are. Like, nobody knows Mike Sherrard better than Mike does, right? Nobody knows Nate the Great better than Nate does, right? So it's like, with that being said, don't try to act like Gary Vee.
Yeah.
Don't try to act like Tony Robbins. Like, I get so sick and tired because honestly, Mike, I mean, I've been tuning into motivational content ever since I've been 16 years old, right? And me, I mean, I'm a big Eric Thomas fan, E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher.
Yeah.
And it's funny, E.T., he always makes a joke. I've been blessed to establish a really tight connection with him at the age of 16. And he always used to make a really funny joke. He's like, he does TGIMs every single Monday. He's like,
Love
yo,
it.
what up? It's your
Thank
boy
God
ET,
it's Monday.
right? TGIM.
Yeah.
And he said the one day, he was like, the one time I saw somebody like, yo, what up? It's your boy Tyrone. And it's like they're literally taking what he's doing and copying it, right? So it's like, what I want to say and what I'm trying to say is don't do what these other people are doing from a form of copying,
Hmm.
right? Because it's like people can see that, because when they meet you and they're expecting you to be somebody else, but you're not, you can't live up to what you're preaching, then it's like it's fake. It's very ingenuine. So I always recommend, like, stick to who you are, be yourself. Me personally, Mike, I'm introverted, like straight up. And most people, they find it hard to believe, but I've gotten to the point now where I can really act really well extroverted, because it's kind of my job. But I also know when to listen. So I
Yeah.
make videos along the lines of, my personality and who I am, because I know that I can leverage that, right? So again, don't act like somebody you're not. Don't flex too hard. All right, I'm not saying it's not bad to flex, but don't flex to the point where you're saying, "Hey, I just bought a Lamborghini," but you really
100%. Yeah.
didn't. Especially the millennials, because it's like you see a bunch of these millennials. They got these beautiful, nice Lamborghinis or cars. They got these nice Rolexes, but straight up, like it's their friends, right? Or it's their homies or something, or they just went to, I don't know, K Jewelers or something, or Rolex store, and they said, "Hey, let me try this on. I'll pay you $100 for a photo," right?
Yeah.
So it's like they do these things, believe it or not, and again, it's just it's a misperception. Um, so those are some of the don'ts, some of the do's. I do recommend, if you are just kind of getting into it, um, you know, talk to yourself in the mirror sometimes. Practice in the mirror. Video content is not easy. If somebody's not used to, because me, I mean, I do it simple. I just hold this in front of the myself, and I'm just, hey, what's up, guys? Nate the Great coming out. Like, I'm simple, right? I
Yeah.
don't really have a fancy dancy camera. You can if you want to. That's completely up to you. But practice, right? Practice makes perfect, because it's like, at the end of the day, you don't want to put a video up there where you're like, stammering or stumbling over your words and everything like that. I mean, it's great because it's genuine, but at the end of the day, the content also has to be good. So I
Yeah.
recommend, like, practicing in front of the mirror. I do it all the time, believe it or not. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes whenever I'm just, in an apartment or in a house or just even on the streets, I'll just straight up talk to myself and be like, "Yo, what's up? Nate the Great coming at you." And it really helps build confidence inside, because again, I mean, it takes a lot to build confidence starting out, especially if you're like an agent or just wanting to really level up your brand. You
Yeah.
have to practice. All right, practice your video content, and shoot. I mean, second, reach out to an expert, right? Reach out to somebody that you feel could really help you with your personal brand. All right, there's tons of marketing companies out there. I'll be honest with you. I recommend scheduling a call with them first to make sure that they truly care about what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're doing,
Yeah.
you know, and your goals and your vision at the end of the day. Is because a lot of these marketing or quote unquote brand gurus or experts, they're showcasing themselves. They say that they care, but at the end of the day, once they get that check or that money, it's like they really don't care anymore. You're just a number. They run you through the same exact system. So I
Yeah.
definitely recommend getting in contact with somebody that actually wants to help you level up, and of course, get to that next level as a brand. So yeah, man.
Certainly, yeah. And, going back to what you said about not flexing, I think one thing that a lot of agents struggle with too is, they have this image that every agent is like the $1 million listing, right? Where, they're spruced up in their three-piece suit every day, every time they leave the house. And that's not them, right? I know some agents from Michigan or from, other places, and, their things, cowboy boots, jeans, and, a button up. And that works for them because that's authentic and that's their target demographic. So it wouldn't feel right if you heard them or saw them or knew them and saw them in that three-piece suit. If t-shirt and jeans is your thing and you can rock that and still carry out your act professionally and still build your brand accordingly, then I think it again goes back to being true to yourself and being very authentic and transparent and not trying to do what the general industry standards are, quote unquote, supposed to do. Right. And
Yeah.
the quality as well. So, that's another thing. And I talked to Delroy, who about this on our video, where, we talked about the importance of just getting started with personal branding. In terms of video, like you said, it's a lot of practice. For me, I used to put my GoPro on my books and I used to just record myself over and over and over. And that was for video content. But, a lot of people are worried about, in terms of their professional or their personal brand, professional quality, right? I have a lot of people that, reach out to me and say, Mike, I don't have enough quality images to post every so often, or, how do you get good pictures or whatever. So, Delroy and I started talking about, tips for personal branding in the sense of reaching out to, local freelance photographers where they're willing to do 50 shots for $100 that first time to build and establish a relationship if you tag them in the photos or something like that. Like, so do you have any tips for people that are just looking for, some easy out ways to just get started? Because for me, one of the big things that I used to do, and I still do, is I do a lot of curated content where I'll go do a photo shoot and I'll do for my car, I'll do 30 shots in one day. And then that's about a quarter of a year's worth of car posts for me, right? So doing little things where you can create that professional look, but you don't have to take too much time away from your daily activities, because when you start trying to take a photo every day in the moment, that can become stressful to some people. And whereas if you do it ahead of time and you start curating and backlogging, I think that's another advantageous tip for people who want to make sure that their content's professional and consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always great to plan, of course, when it comes to content. When it comes to like video and I mean, more so photo quality, I'd say. Of course, you can't hire somebody, you can't do photo shoots. I mean, shoot, I did my first photo shoot in July, and that was definitely something. I felt like a model that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recommend, like, on people, because I get asked all the time, like, Nate, I took a photo, but it kind of looks a little bit like not blurry, but I wish the colors popped out more. What do I do? There are some good apps that I personally use and that I recommend. One is called Airbrush. That's a really, really great app for really bringing the color out, contrast and things. Facetune, that's really good as well. I typically wear a lot of watches in my photos, as well as some necklaces. So literally, I'll just hit the detail button and then highlight the watch so it stands out more, right? Another one, of course, with video content. I mean, of course, I'm sure we're all aware of iMovie. That's a great platform to really utilize. Yeah, I mean, there's not really too much that I personally use for content purposes, but again, I mean, I always tell people, Mike, I'm like, listen, don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
If you're the type and you want to have things in order where you want to do a shoot and just like, nail out the content instead of doing it like, once or twice a week or a few times a week. All right, you can do that, right? Me personally, I just go with the flow for real. When I'm in a city, if I see somebody walking by and I'm by myself, I might stop them like, hey, excuse me, do you mind taking a quick photo of me by this bush or something, right? Or by this building, right? And then they'll literally just straight up, oh yeah, for sure, right? And then they just take a photo of me, and then it's pretty good. I typically don't like to ask some of the older people because they unfortunately don't know how to make the balancing work.
Yeah.
But once I have somebody kind of like around my age or young that takes it, I always give them a little because I want dopamine to flow in their brain, right? So I always say, I'm like, hey, what's your Instagram handle? I'll tag you in the photo. And they're like, oh, it's so and so, and then I'll follow them. They'll follow me back. And of course, once they look at your brand and they look at your following, it's like, man, who's this guy? Like they get all startled, and it's funny, their reactions. But I typically, again, I mean, I focus on those couple apps that I use. And again, I mean, just as long as somebody's consistent with content, that's huge at the end of the day, because I would rather somebody post, I'd say, one or two times a week quality photos, editing and things like that, or, doing a photo shoot compared to posting every single day just for the hell of it, right? Because it's like, I could post, in my room right now if I wanted to, but it's like, is that really going to get a lot of hits? Probably not, so those are just some things that I would personally do for that, man.
And in terms of like video content, you're working with some of these agents that have huge followings, and they're very established agents. So is there any types of videos that you're getting these people to record? Because I know, there's the standard videos of, open house tours, or there's coming soons, or there's like some lifestyle stuff. Are there any tips and tricks for like types of videos for agents to post that you think are relevant and aren't too salesy? Because that's another thing is, when every single post is talking about a new listing, that again kind of takes away from who you are, because then it goes down to, again, you being just a salesy agent. But what sort of videos are you getting your crew and your squad to post?
No, that's a great question, Mike. Because you definitely don't want to come off, as a seller, that salesy type. I try not to myself, to be honest with you. But something I recommend a lot of agents, of course, you want to upload different videos of maybe you're going through an open house, like with what you were saying, or doing a market report. Those videos are great. But it's funny because, we work with like a lot of these high-end agents, especially in Vancouver, for example, and the face expression that they make when we tell them, hey, don't overcomplicate the videos. And what I mean by that is literally record videos with your family, right?
Yeah.
Record videos of, if you're passionate about the football game, right? Or the hockey game or something. Cause I know hockey's big in Canada. It's like, they're just like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And they're just like, why? I'm like, why not? Like, why do people not want to relate with you that way? I mean, people are going to relate with you more with you going on, your rant or your spiel about why your team lost yesterday, or why you're so passionate about soccer or tennis or hockey and things like that. So I recommend, find out. And again, this is something that personally the person can do that might be having a hard time on coming up with topics is, get a piece of paper, get your phone, jot down the top 3 or 5 things that you're passionate about, like straight up, just simple things like that. Let's say one is football, personal development. Maybe you're passionate about working out, family time. Maybe you're passionate about cars. Cool. So what you're going to do now is, me personally, like I'm reading a book right now, love him or hate him, great businessman, Trump, The Art of the Deal, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I can literally record, and I do this on my YouTube. I leave like little book reviews for every single book I read. So I can literally record and do like a 5 or 10, well, if we're doing Instagram, I can do a 60-second, really quick spiel of what I got from this book.
Yeah.
And it's like, boom, once I do that, it's right there. Same with family. Showcase your wife, showcase your woman, your girlfriend, right? Your kids. And we work with this one agent. He was so flabbergasted once I told him, like, hey man, just showcase your daughter. Show her how cute she is to the world. And he literally started doing that. He hit me up 3 weeks later. Nate, I got my first lead through Instagram. And I'm just like, my guy. So it's like, don't overcomplicate it. All right. Work with what you're passionate about and just flow with it. Right. And again, if you have to retake some of the videos, that's completely fine. Me personally, I can sometimes be a perfectionist, but I'm a lot better than what I was. I used to retake videos like 30 or 50 times, but now I've kind of got down to 8. So I'm working on myself.
Definitely, man. Yeah, I know what you mean. Still to this day, my best engaged video was the video last year where I bought my dad's dream road bike for Christmas. And I surprised him on Christmas Day with, his carbon fiber dream road bike that he would never buy for himself. And because I had a good year in my first year, and, he was crying, and my sister and mother were crying, and it was so organic, and people loved it. And I still, to this day, over the course of this year, had people come up to me and be like, Mike, man, like, remember seeing your video last year of that bike for your dad? That was so amazing. And it showed that even though I drive this purple BMW or whatever, I care so much about giving back, and it's not all me. And I needed people to see the family side of me, and that's what's truly important in my life, right? So if you're always posting these videos about me, then a lot of people just think you're selfish, or they think you're egotistical, or, but as soon as you start showing that, and if it's true, if it's authentic, I didn't do that, to get attention. I did that because it's been a dream of mine. But as soon as you authentically start doing things like that to help others and showcase your passions, then that's when things really change, right?
Yeah. And like you said, Mike, it's emotions, right? There's a reason why people go to movies, like straight up. Like I was in a movie, I watched Creed 2 about 2 weekends ago. And I just had like a moment. I'm just like, whoa, obviously I'm motivated. I'm inspired, of course, Rocky Balboa, Creed and everything. And I just took a moment and I'm like, whoa. I didn't look around like, hey, I didn't look around like that or anything. I just kind of looked out the corner of my eyes and I was like, whoa, everybody's in a simulation right now, right? And it's by a movie. And when they come out, it's like, man, I want to go to the gym. I want to be the next, Rocky Balboa, right? And it's all emotions. Same with sales. It's all emotional. So it's like back to the video content piece. When you produce videos on family, on what you're passionate about, people can actually feel that. And when they feel that, they want to associate themselves with you because they can they can tell it's genuine and it's real, to say the least. But no, I think it's definitely huge. Like sales, it's all about emotions. Once you find out those, couple ways that work for you, I think that'll be huge. Real quick, Mike, if you don't mind me asking, for yourself, like starting out, like did you know the power of like a personal brand starting out, or did you kind of like weed your way into that?
It's kind of interesting because when I started out, my Instagram handle was Mike.Sherrard, and I have that parked on a different account for when the time is right, because for those who don't know, I'm going to be changing back next year. But what happened was I knew I wanted to wrap a car because that was authentic to me. So generally, I knew that I wanted to build a personal brand, and I knew that I wanted to do something that was true and authentic to me. But what I truly didn't understand was the power of it. I didn't understand that within a year, I was going to start getting ranked on all these top lists, and I was going to start getting featured here and featured there. Because at the time, I was a 24-year-old new agent, not from the city. I have no industry experience, but I was getting featured everywhere. And everyone's like, Mike, man, I'm seeing you all over the place. Like, you're creating such a buzz. Like, how did you do it? And it was all just because of creating this personal brand that was real to me, because it didn't seem like work, right? So I had no idea that this was going to become as big as it does. And now that I understand the power of it, I'm, especially in the new year, man, I'm diving in twice as hard because it's been game changing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I think, just the power of a personal brand, of course, starting out, I really don't think people understand how big you can really make it. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like when people hear personal brand, they just think, oh, I'm just gonna, showcase myself, right?
Yeah.
But they don't truly understand the different avenues you can come out with, like a podcast, for example. That's huge for a brand, right?
Yeah.
Having your own book, of course. I know we're both kind of working on that, of course.
Yeah.
Something else I see a lot of is courses. People
Yep.
offer coursework, and that's huge, especially for a brand, because it's like there's levels to being a personality brand. There's levels to having that authority in your niche or your industry. And it's like once you start, that's like level one. Then it's like level two. I mean, that's completely up to you. Like if you want to write a book, cool. If you want to start a podcast, cool. If you want to write a course or start a course, amazing. Right? Maybe you want to collaborate with somebody else, for example. Maybe that's another level. So it's like, I know Delroy, he has like a lot of partnerships with a bunch of different companies and everything. And he's killing the game out there, man.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And it's like, you look at somebody like him and the way he's kind of positioning his personality brand is not just on a local or a national level, it's more so on that global level. So it's like,
Yeah.
obviously your goal first is of course to be well known locally, but second is what, nationally and then globally. So it's like once you're known globally, and if you don't necessarily have these different structures, these different tiers and levels set up, then it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you have this? Like, you could be producing separate sources of income over here, right? But you're not doing it. And there's the question, like, why aren't you doing that? And it's like, you have all these different avenues to go about, but you got to put out content, right?
Yeah.
You got to be consistent. And that's when the people will come, because people ask like, hey, I've been doing this for a month. I still haven't seen any results. I'm like, well, man, it takes a year.
Yeah.
You gotta give yourself some time. You gotta give yourself some patience. You gotta be persistent. The more content that you put out, that's when things really start to get rolling for you. And that's why I recommended earlier. Maybe you want to seek out to a potential expert or somebody that knows personality branding. That way, they can actually help you and give you direction. Because believe it or not, I mean, not everybody does understand, the direction on how to position themselves. But yeah, man, I figured you get a kick out of that.
Yeah, and I think, that comes down to just having a plan, right? I think with anything, you need to be intentional with what you're doing, right? Because if you just go with you want to build a personal brand and you just start posting every day, if you don't have a plan in place, then you're just going to be posting and you're going to be repeating the same cycle every single week. But you need a plan in place for, the same as business goals. You need personal brand goals for quarterly, semi-annually, annual goals to see, because as you see, looking at probably one of the biggest examples ever right now is like The Rock, for example. He has such a strong brand that he puts out a new headphones and they sell out in 24 hours, right? You have things like that. Two things I really want to touch on before we hop off here is, one, your thoughts on polarization, because this is something that I like that Gary Vee says. I think it's okay to be polarizing within reason, in the sense that that's going to be something that helps a personal brand stick. For example, if you look at my car, some people would look at a purple BMW and automatically assume that it's douchey, but I have about 95% of people that look at it, and even from the ages up to, I've had people in their 70s and 80s say they love the color. I've got the majority of people that like it, but there's always going to be a group that hates it or doesn't like what it stands for or anything. And, something that Gary talks about in Agent 2021 is the fact that if you're an agent and you go in trying to build a personal brand that pleases everyone, you're going to end up pleasing no one. So I think it's important, again, to make sure that you're being intentional and not being afraid to be slightly edgy, as long as it's within reason and not offending anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. And I'll just use an example, if you like comic books, hey man, post about comic books. You feel me? That's who you are, right? Don't be scared to post something that you personally are passionate about, feeling like you're going to get judged by somebody else. Like, you're going to get judged either way. Like, you get judged by your car every single day,
all the time.
People like it, people don't like it. It's a judgment, right? Yeah. I get judged all the time based off of my age. I'm 22 years old. I own my own marketing company. Like, what? Like, I get judged all the time. Like, and I can really talk for the millennial standpoint because, again, back in high school, I kind of got surrounded around the whole motivational, like ET and everything when I was 16 years old. And I was watching these videos in class. I was actually recording videos on my phone. And one day the high school soccer team actually got hold of one of my videos, and it was on like favoritism. Of course, I wasn't as passionate and I not understand like what tonality and everything was at the time. I was just kind of like mumbling on and things like that. And I literally had like the whole soccer team against me because they just thought I was so funny whenever I used to talk. They thought this whole motivation thing was a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But literally now, when you fast forward, Mike, to today, the amount of people that I graduated with that were the quote unquote like jocks and then the preps and everything, every single one of them are like in my Instagram photos, right? I have people that reach out to me all the time, like it's crazy because when you're consistent, when you stay with the process and you don't let the outside, because I totally could have been like, man, this whole motivation thing just isn't for me. This whole business entrepreneur mentality is just not for me. I'm just going to go to college, which I didn't go to college. I haven't went to college or anything like that. I could have totally went to college. I could have totally went to the military. I could have settled, but I didn't settle. I kept staying consistent, and people have respect for me personally now because I stay consistent. They see you traveling, right? They see you doing all these amazing things, meeting with all these different clients, these people that are absolutely killing the game, right? And it's like when they see that, you're more so of an authority now. And you're always, again, like what you were saying, you're always going to have critics. People are always going to hate on your car because they don't have that car. People are always going to hate on that house because they don't have that house, or maybe they just don't know how to sell that house. But they're too ignorant to truly understand what your perspective is as a personal brand. Life's all about perspectives, but it's like you choose that perspective to go with. And because you're criticizing, let's say, you in the car, it's like you're being ignorant towards that. But the other group, the other 95%, they understand your perspective. They understand the purpose of the car. They understand that that's your personal brand, and that's what generates you possibly leads. But that's also like a little magnet whenever you drive, because I'm sure you probably, man, Mike, you probably, whenever you're driving, you probably break a lot of necks. You're probably, whoa.
It's crazy, man. It's
crazy.
Yeah, man, even just going back to your little story there, I heard on one of the recent episodes of MS CEO with Andy Frisella, he said that when he started making video content way back when, people in his school were making fun of him, and his friend group were making fun of him, saying like, who are you trying to be, like Tony Robbins, whatever. And he's like, hell yeah, motherfucker, I'm trying to be Tony Robbins. Dude makes $400 million a year. Like, at the end of the day, do your thing. And the last thing I want to touch on, Nate, is, Instagram's the hottest topic right now. That's the big one that everyone's focusing on. So I know when I did an interview recently with Local Laundry, an apparel brand, they had a neat little recipe per se for getting noticed on there and building their account organically, in the sense that when they would go to a photo shoot, and this could apply to an agent, they would get a photographer as long as they had a social media account, an Instagram account. And then they would go take the photo in a location that had an Instagram account, like a nice popular coffee shop or whatever, so that every time they were doing a photo, they would be able to tag both the photographer and the location, and then hashtag it accordingly so that they could get noticed on many different fronts. So do you have any tips for people that are looking to, grow their Instagram account organically, or just get a little bit more attention than they might not otherwise be getting right now?
Yeah, for sure, Mike. I think you kind of, hit on that point right there. Definitely adding locations is huge. I recommend it all the time. Like if you're not adding locations, I mean, you're just de-ranking yourself, to be honest. It's really great for, again, whenever I was saying about Los Angeles earlier, or maybe there's a Equinox gym or a Gold's gym or something there in Los Angeles. I can literally just go to that and see like, the people that post and the top posts. And typically I'm sure you and I a lot, we probably rank a lot on the top posts, and people stick out more and people want to reach out more on like the top locations. So
Yeah.
locations are huge. Hashtags are also great. I recommend doing 30 hashtags. People ask, well, Nate, how should I do the hashtags? I recommend doing like half and half, 15 local, 15 more so general. Or if you really want to stick local, I mean, you can do 20, 25, and then the other 5 like more so global. Hashtags are definitely huge. For sure. Something else, engaging. That's always great. You always want to make sure you're sticking on. Like and what I mean by engaging is if somebody comments on your post, don't just ignore it. Like reply to those. All right, because whenever you reply to those, you're also ranking yourself higher. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
And I recommend doing it quickly. I understand. We're all busy at the end of the day, but me personally, I have my Instagram notifications off. But whenever I do post a photo, like within 15, 30 minutes, I might be on my phone a good bit, just kind of replying to comments, because the faster you do it within those 15, 30 minutes, the higher you're going to rank compared to doing it a couple or a few hours later. So I do recommend, replying a lot, even if it's just an emoji, like somebody gives a little, arm emoji, reply with like a fire emoji back, right? Even if you don't know them, because a lot of people feel like, well, Mike, I don't really know them. What do I do? Well, it's okay, right? You want to rank hard, you really want to know them,
Exactly.
So I recommend just, again, replying to every single comment, engage with your people. Like you said earlier, I mean, engagement groups, they do help to a point. They can be good to network and connect with people. Consistency, that's huge at the end of the day. Tagging is also huge. Photo tagging. If I were in your case, and I'm sure you might do this, I would tag BMW a lot. Tag your clothing. I tag the watch. I tag my wallet. I mean, shoot, if I got hair product in my hair, I'll tag the hair product. I literally go tag overboard, because I understand the importance of them possibly seeing that, possibly reaching out, being, hey, Nate, I want to give you free products, or I want to give you a discount, right? That's what a lot of these restaurants do. If they're smart, at the end of the day, unfortunately, a lot of them, they don't really know, and they're just kind of ignorant towards that because they don't understand social media.
Yeah.
But restaurants, they do reach out to a lot of these influencers for that reason. They have them come in and they post something. They have their people come in just by posting a photo or an Instagram story. And by doing that, of course, it generates that restaurant business. Talking about Instagram stories, I recommend if you're with somebody, always tag that you're with them, right? For those of the people that follow me, I tend to post a lot of food photos whenever I'm out at a cafe, and I'll tag that person that I'm with, because you can actually look at the analytics and how many profile clicks that they got, right? How many people looked at that, right? Especially in videos, because that's huge. Then they can repost it. I guess I'll let you in on this. One of the biggest secrets to my success with being a marketer is meeting up with our clients, tagging them reposting it. Because when they repost it, their audience sees it. It's just straight up a lead magnet, right? And you're not even paying anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's like just implementing some of those little things are definitely huge for really leveling up, not just your brand, but really, of course, getting more DMs and really maximizing your engagement.
Definitely. That's essentially encompassing your social proof, right? And like you say, that organic cross promotion is huge, man, because if you like, know, and trust one person, generally the one that they're with is going to be a similar resemblance to the audience. So yeah, man, Nate, thanks so much, brother. Again, I hope you guys got a bit of value. Comment below your biggest takeaway from this. And if you guys have any questions about personal branding, I'm going to make sure to link all of Nate's stuff below, in addition to his marketing agency as well as his social profiles, because he's doing some big stuff and especially at a young age. So again, guys, going into 2019, it's only going to become more relevant. It's only going to become bigger and more important. So invest in it now, double down, and make sure you do it with intent. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Nate, thanks again for coming on, brother.